Okay, I thought I'd do a quick overview of what I'm getting ready to do. For this Pontiac, you guys already know we're doing a Power Plus 20 kit from American Auto Wire, which is just a general kit. You know, hey, it's got a bunch of circuits, it comes with a nice fuse box, a bunch of wire, that's about it. So this is our new fuse box. Pretty typical for American Auto Wire set. I'm very happy with it. I have it in a lot of vehicles, although I usually buy the other kits. Here's a couple of them because I really like the boxes, so I reuse them to store stuff in because I got the nice handles. So even though we've done more kits than that, it's a nice way to store stuff. So as we're going through the old harness, and in a previous video I showed that we're going to go ahead and use a 68 and later GM firewall pass-through mount here because it clicks right to the back. I had probably mentioned already that the wires pointing down was not as useful for me, so I'm going to start relaxing everything and pointing them up, and also figuring out and pinning out what's going through the bulkhead. The way we're doing that is, one, looking at the original setup. Even though we're adding some stuff, everything that's on here pretty much still needs to exist. So the other thing we're going to wind up doing, going through, figuring out what signals we actually want to go through the bulkhead, make sure we have enough pins, which we do, and then I'm going to start taking, because this is basically that wire harness on the table over there, figuring out what's important to us, where we want to route it, how do I want to tie in some of the other systems that we're working. So like the air conditioning unit that we're going to do is going to get its power from here, from this AC heat fuse. Let's see. Oh, the other thing, I know I had mentioned in the past that I hate these. And I've got 3 kits right now with these silly mega fuses in it. And I'm not putting those in anybody's car. I think they're silly. I've already told American Auto Wire what I think about those kits. I'm not sure that they care about my opinion. So for now, they're getting more of my money. And I'm buying the 500875. And that gets me the wire down to the alternator, as well as, the field wire and everything, if you're running the light, as well as the fusible link at the alternator to the starter. And then also getting the 500427, which is the brown fusible link, which is going to feed the rest of the car. So it'll go from the stud on the alternator back to the bulkhead. So instead of the way this kit is, because it's just a generic kit, this is the main feed coming in, which is, it's a little heavy, but that's fine. So this is going to go to one of these larger positions so we can pass the current. And then same with the bulkhead down to the starter with that brown fusible link. So that's where the main power feed to this car is going to come from. So as we're doing that and getting all these sorted out, because obviously we're not using that connector anymore because you can't get those pins, and on it we'd have been, I think, 1 pin short anyway for what we're doing. So as I'm pulling this around and deciding how things are going to go, this is a extension harness, pretty typical in their kits for, aftermarket accessories or high draw accessories like power windows or adding heated seats or something along that line that probably weren't part of the original vehicle harness. This is a nice, very convenient way to tap into a fuse without having to pull the whole wiring harness later. I'm going to actually steal a couple of these lines and use those to feed a few things. One of which, of course, is this guy. He needs a 20 amp circuit, so he's going to come off the fuse box for that. The cruise control is a little different. One thing, of course, we're going to have a relay in there off the ground. I seem to find that's always kind of necessary. You hit the brake and you need to add a relay. But a lot of this harness is very standalone. It will get its main power feed from the fuse box, but everything else is out under the dash, under the hood, or these teeny little connectors that pass through a grommet to get up and towards the steering column for the lever control. So that one, it's a little different. The other thing I've got to do is decipher how on earth I'm going to build an instrument panel breakaway. I've got the instrument panel harness here. You can see it's right here. So here's all the signals going to the panel. This is going to get a connector on it that later, should he decide to have a custom Dakota solution created, I can then just pop a different end on that connector, pop it into the Dakota box. Boom, we're up and running in, an hour instead of a couple days of pulling everything back apart. It also makes it easier if he has to pull the dash for some reason to have that breakaway harness. This is a very strange dash in that, it's basically just a bunch of light bulbs running everything. The only other thing going is mechanical. And somewhere around here we have the new clock. He did convert it to a quartz clock, and it does work really well. We already tested it. But let's see. Yeah, so seeing this is probably what we're going to base it on, is the 500505. That comes with a nice connector and all the pins. We're definitely adding courtesy lights. This car didn't have them. Add them to everything. They're amazing. It's really nice to open the door and actually see things. Let's see. Yeah, and then of course this kit does come with some miscellaneous generic parts that you can use for your assembly. But it occurred to me that I don't always explain why I'm doing what I'm doing. So this is kind of where we're at. This is the harness that goes to the back. That harness will also be bundled with the power feed for the fuel pump. That harness is going to route through the original plastic channel, which we still haven't removed yet. But it's the safest way to get to the back. It's already engineered to get there. And whenever possible, I do like to use these GM channels. I can fit all the same wires in there, plus the one more that I want, and it won't be a problem at all. So that's kind of what we're doing there. And I realize I'm starting to ramble a little bit, so I think it's time for me to get back to work. All right, just a mid-project update here. Diesel and Pixie have been working on getting the splash guards on, which is always fun. We found a rub-through point on that bladder. Let's see if I can show it to you. Oh, we got it loose so we can turn it. Yeah, right there. So we got to figure out what to do about that. We'll have to contact Ride Tech about that. And we suspect that it wasn't installed correctly. And we're still sorting this out. Been going over things, going through harnesses, looking at lots and lots of paperwork. And I think we kind of have our setup figured out. We've mapped out the connector using GM's markings. And now I'm assigning what's going to go through the bulkhead. So I'm just going through and marking where things are going on the bulkhead and getting ready to add some of the other ones for some of the externals. Kind of like pulling the fuel trigger in from the MSD, as well as the switched ignition source for the MSD so that it knows when it's on. We're going through the AirPod stuff. So that's kind of the update for right now. We'll get some more later. Well, ShopDog's had enough of freaking Easeter Snow. Well, happy Easter. It's been snowing, and I just went in and started prepping dinner. I'll come out and wrap up this video because I think I'm feeling kind of done for today. So let's come back in. And a lot of things happened today. Not all of them are desirable. We found that the airbags, we're not happy with how they were installed, and the one has rubbing on it. So he's going to call Air Ride tomorrow and find out about replacing that. And also about, what we can do to prevent that in the future. And see, they've started getting the ground straps and got the splash shields in. Pixie came in and got the harness protector freed up so that I can build the new rear body harness. And in here, I know it never looks like anything happened, but an awful lot has happened in here. For starters, this has all been pulled apart and reassembled, coming out the top now instead of out of the bottom. And I've been building up the shell because, you know, this will pop on here. So getting that built up, you know, in fact, just sourced some wires for the wiper feed. So slowly going through, you can see I've been keeping track of all my little shell positions, and I've just been using the GM standard. So, you know, Alpha Sierra is this corner here. You can see, you know, it goes A, B, C, and D over here, you know, and then from Sierra to Zulu here. So just keeping track of where things are and going through, and luckily I always keep spare wire, so we keep finding things. But yeah, I think I got 4 more to terminate on this shell, and then I get to start the fight to close it, which even for the harnesses that you buy that are already set up to do that, it's always a nightmare closing them, but we'll get it. It'll work. And then I can start working out how I'm going to do the instrument panel breakaway. That'll be fun, but I've got ideas. What else really to talk about at this point? I think that kind of wraps us up for the day. You know, we had hoped to get a little more done on the weekend, but it is Easter. And yesterday, there was a Pontiac in here, a G6, getting some work done. So that kind of slowed us down a little bit on this project. But yeah, we're slowly getting this thing going. I think we will have the bulk of the harness for the interior sorted out in the next week and a half. You know, because I only do this, you know, a few hours here and there. The engine harness will not be complicated. There's just not much to it. So we're definitely getting there. And then one of the things we definitely want to figure out is how to hide that MSD module. Not happy with the way they had it mounted way up high and so visible. We're going to see what we can do about hiding that. Maybe we can even get it inside the cab and then just bundle the wires through a grommet or something. We'll work on that yet. And that is all for the Pontiac Catalina for Easter weekend.